steps that we're going to take to deploy all of these solution, this infrastructure, and all the steps required. So just to keep things organized, first we'll start by creating a folder and name it as Fortigate. Okay, so make dir Fortigate Ansible. Okay, so again inside this folder, and we have to install first I'm going to update, okay, and then I'm going to install Ansible and pip3. So I'm just going to copy all of these. Now if you're new to Linux, recall that to install these software, these libraries, you have to run them as a super user or as sudo. Is like the admin on Windows. Okay, so if I try to paste this, okay, it will say, okay, permission denied, I can't. So I have to run this as a sudo. Okay, now I'm going to paste, and it's going to update some files on my system. It's going to try to install, but I already installed this before, so you can see it's saying that, okay, it is already satisfied, so I don't have to update anything. Okay, so this is great. Now we have to install the Ansible collection for FortiOS. I'm going to copy this and paste into the terminal. Okay, I already did this before, so you can see it is already installed. Okay, that's okay. So now I can exit as a sudo. Just want to keep working as a normal user. So the next step is to create the inventory file. Now, if you're new to Ansible, just some points that I want to highlight is that Ansible, it requires essentially 3 files. We need the Ansible configuration file, we need an inventory file. This is so Ansible configuration is where we have the system configuration for Ansible. The inventory file, this is where we have information regarding the nodes or the hosts that we want to interact or manage. And we have the playbook. So playbook, this is actually where we set things that we want Ansible to do on the nodes or the devices. Okay, so we're not going to create Ansible configuration file, we're just going to create the inventory file for this video. So actually I can just type this nano host, okay, and we should create the file, but I already have the content for this file, and this is based on this example that they have here on their website. Okay, and we can see this example. So this is a playbook, this is a YAML file, okay, and we're going to see this in a moment, but this is the hosts file, the inventory file, like I mentioned. Okay, so essentially on this file, this is where we set like the host name. This is just an identification, this is not actually the host name of the device itself, but here has to be the device IP address and the credentials, in this case admin and password, and some global variables such as how Ansible should interpret this device. And we are saying, look, this is a Fortinet and we're using FortiOS. Okay, so this is something specific to FortiOS device. Okay, and then we're going to create the playbook. Actually, then it's going to be the playbook, and in this playbook, what we're saying, so we're saying, look at the inventory file Fortigates, and so this is also global config settings, how we're going to connect to that device and perform these changes. So change the admin timeout to 23 seconds and change the device host name to this name. Okay, very straightforward, right? So I already have my host file here updated with my firewall IP address. So it's 41.154. The username is admin and password is admin. So I'm going to save this file into my directory. So I'm just going to save inside Fortigate Ansible, and I'll change the name to hosts. Okay, and I'm going to save this. Okay, so if I go back to my terminal, okay, I have the file hosts. Okay, so this is the same file. Now the reason I like to use Sublime is when you're working with YAML file, it's very easy to make errors related to indentation. Okay, So I don't want to be troubleshooting identification problems, so it's much easier to just work with this text editor that shows me how the files are organized, and you understand this in a moment. So I have my inventory file. Next I need, what do I need? So this is the inventory file. Then I need my playbook. Okay, and this is will be the name of the file, and this is a YAML file. And I also have these, let's see, it's right here. So firewall global set, I'm just using the same name, okay, just to keep things simple. It didn't change anything there, okay. And this is what is supposed to happen. So we want to change the admin timeout. Actually I changed to 60 instead of 23, and the host name to be Fortigate 02. Now again, I'm going to save these in the same directory as I have hosts files. Okay, so let's get into Fortigate Ansible and save firewall global set, okay, and just save that. Okay, so now I have two files in the same directory, right? So firewall global, this is my playbook and my inventory file. Okay, so next we just have to run this playbook, right? Ansible playbook -i host firewall global. I'm just going to copy this and paste it, okay, and let it run. Let's see what's going to be the output. So this might take some seconds to run, and so meanwhile probably should drink a cup of water or coffee, whatever you have there. And it's taking some time, so probably in a minute or 2 minutes. Okay, and so we know that if it's red, that's not a good sign, okay. So something happened, and that's not something good. Now, how do we troubleshoot a problem like this? And I could show you just the operational file with the solution, but I want to walk you through this process so that in the future, if you find the same problem by yourself, at least you will know how to troubleshoot and solve the problem. Okay, so let's see. You notice that we ran the command and it was kind of thinking and was doing something, but we don't know what. So we can use this option here, like this is to increase the verbosities, like on Windows when we say debug commands, because we want to see more logs, right? So we can use this. So I'm going to run this command again, and I'm going to add these attributes or parameters. So now okay, I have more information. Okay, it's telling me what is happening, and so it looks like it has the same behavior like before, but now we have this output and we can try to make sense of this. And okay, so I have a local connection for the user. Okay, doesn't seem like something is wrong. Okay, at least it looks like it's normal. Okay, let's see if this time is going to work. And again, we have red. Okay, and what's the problem? Well, let's see. Ansible's main, so it's something related with Dragon Balls. I don't know. Okay, but again, this is something related with connection. Okay, because it says that we have a timeout. Now, obviously, we're not going to spend a lot of time troubleshooting this because I already know the problem. But we have a problem with connection. Now, which type of problem? Let's see. Okay, if we go back to our Sublime file, what is he using to connect to the device? And at this part, we see that it's using the connection HTTP API. Okay, nothing strange there. But if we look here, it's saying Ansible HTTP use SSL yes, validate search no, and use the port 443. Now, the first thing that came to my mind is, do we have this port available? Is it enabled on the firewall? So let's check that. Okay, and I shouldn't do that. Let me just return. And Okay, so it's all, the session is already logged out. So if we try to log on to this device as, is it 41 154 154? Okay, I know it's not going to work, right? Because I didn't enable HTTPS. So it's still loading. Okay, just say later because it's going to come up all the time. So if we go to, let's say, network interfaces, and we see that HTTPS is not enabled. Now, even if we enable HTTPS, it's still not going to work. So let's just go straight to the point. So we want to disable SSL. Okay, don't use SSL. Don't validate certs, and change the port from 443 to 80. Okay, and let's see if it's going to work now. Now back to our terminal. Let's run this again, and it's running. Okay, and voila, it's done. Okay, it changed one thing. What is this one thing? Okay, so it looks like our code, our playbook was accepted. Let's confirm this. What do we have in our playbook is to change the admin timeout to 60 seconds and the host name to Fortigate 02. Okay, let's check that. So if we go to dashboard status, and what do we have? I'm just close that tab. And it looks like it didn't work, but wait a minute. Here it says that it was changed. Okay, so actually, let's log out. Okay, and just log in again. Okay, so Fortigate 02, look at this. Something changed. Okay, so it actually changed the host name. And if we go to system settings, you should see that admin interval, it's 60 seconds now. So we can see here that the idle timeout now changed to 60. So we have our Ansible code running and validate. So what happens if we run again the same playbook? Well, Ansible has something called I believe that's idempotation. Essentially, it prevents from making changes on the device if those changes they are already in the device. Okay, so that's a protection mechanism. Okay, so that's awesome. We are able to change the host name. We are able to change the idle timeout. What else can we do? Now, can we make this more interesting, something more real world scenario? Okay, so let's see. So I have a couple of test files here. So just we can test the waters. Okay. So let's send this playbook and see if we can change the admin timeout to 20 and host name to Fortigate 1. And we want to create a firewall address. Okay. And I'm going to save this in the same directory. So Fortigate Ansible. And let's just name these as test. Actually, okay, let me change here. So it's going to be test01. It's going to be a YAML file. Okay, and let's run this file. So Ansible. Actually, let me clear that. So Ansible. Actually, I can just just to run this playbook, and let's see what's going to be the output. Okay, and it looks like it was successful. So a couple of changes there happened. We can see that we have an HTTP status called 200. It means it was successful. Now let's confirm this on the device. So if we go to police, firewall police, addresses, so this is actually addresses. Okay, we can see the new address, the new object we just created, test 332 with the subnet 192.168. So let's take a look at my file. So was created. That's awesome. Okay, so Ansible works. Okay, now what else can we do? So I have this use case. Okay, so let's create a playbook that allow us to change the firewall hostname to firewall 1, change the idle timeout to 60 seconds, and we want to assign the IP, this IP to port 2 and this IP to port 3. We want to create a firewall address, and this should be the subnet, and we want to create a firewall policy, okay, allowing the LAN address, okay, to go to any destination for these services. Okay, it looks a lot to be done, but can we do it at once, just in one file? Yes, we can. And look at this. We're going to use the same basic, like the connection will be the same. The difference will be the modules that we're going to use. Recall that what I said about the modules, okay? These are the modules that we'll be calling, we'll be using. For instance, if we want to change the host name, okay? So how will you identify which modules to use? Now, one suggestion that I give to you is to log into a device. So let's log into 192.168.43. Actually, that's 41.154. And okay, yes, I have a problem here. Let me remove this. Okay, yes. Okay, and for instance, if I want to change the host name, that should be show system global. So you can see like the syntax is the same that we have directly on the device. So you can see like system global, we have admin timeout, alias, host name, time zone, and these are the same structure that we can see here on Ansible YAML file inside the playbook. So if we want to change the interface, that should be the same thing. So how do we update or change the interface? It should be show system interface. In this case, let's say port 2. Okay, so if I were to find the module to update the interface, so I should be looking for system interface. Let's confirm that. So let me look for system interface module. Check it out. So if I open on another tab, okay, that's the system module. This module is able to configure the device by allowing users to set and modify interface category. Okay, so that's how you can identify which modules to use. Now back to our file. Okay, so we already know how to identify the modules. Then it's just a matter of looking at the parameters, the syntax to use those modules, and also take a look at the examples that they provide on the site. Now in the file, okay, this is the play that will change the host name. This is the play that will assign the IP address to port 2 and it's going to enable the port. This is the play that's going to update the port 3, and this is the play that will update or will create the object LAN address with this subnet, and then we're going to create the policy. So this is going to be the first policy. We're going to provide the name, the source interface, destination interface. We're going to permit, so this is going to be the action, and the source address will be the object we just created before. The destination address will be all addresses, and we want these to be ran all the time. And the services, they are HTTP, HTTPS, NTP, DNS, and because this is to allow internet traffic, which means that we have to enable NAT. Okay, so now I'm going to save this in the same folder. So save this, Fortigate Ansible, and the name is test03. Let's just save this and back to our directory now. So let's call test03. Okay, and hopefully everything should be updated. Okay, and it was. Okay, so actually let me remove all this verbosity. Let's run one more time, and now it shouldn't make any change because again Ansible doesn't update changes if it's not required, and you can see that all the tasks were successfully ignored because they were executed before. So we are able to change the host name, port address, create the LAN address, and create the policy. Let's confirm this on the device. So if we go to Fortigate, let's just log out, just make sure that the hostname is also updated. Now let's log in as admin, and we see that now it's saying Firewall 2. So actually I have to change that to be Firewall 1. So I just have to change this, save my file, back to my Ansible playbook, run again, and now we should only see one change. That should be display. Okay, look at this. This is the only play that was executed, and we only should see one change. Okay, so I'm going to log out again, just so this change is reflected on the device, and we should see Firewall 1. Yes, that's what we want. And we should see the name here on the dashboard. Yes, it's done. Now if we look at network interfaces, now look at this. We have port 2 with IP 10.65.74.252, and actually I have to change that as well. And we have port 3, and let's see at the objects, policy objects. We should have a policy here. Okay, LAN address, HTTP, HTTPS, and TP. And we should look at the address objects. We have LAN address. So that's it. So less than 5 minutes we are able to do this. What if we add another firewall and we need to update a couple of values, but essentially they should be most of the settings like Firewall 1. So let's say we want to have Firewall 1 and Firewall 2, and the only difference between them is the IP address. Okay, so how can we do this? So let me update this play to be used only on the Firewall 1. So I'm going to change the IP to be 251, here 251, and the object should be the same. Okay, I'm just going to save this and run my playbook again. And while it's running, so I know that only port 2 and port 3 should be updated, the remaining they won't. Now if I want to run this, let's say against I have another firewall, so how do I update that? Now this is not actually the way to do it, but I can do it also like this. So I can change the IP here, okay, because it's a different IP, and I can just change this or add both hosts to this file. Okay, I'm just going to save this. No, I don't want to purchase. It's very good to use for free. Now let's go back to my test03 file. What else do I have to update? So this is going to be Firewall 2, and the IP is going to be 2, and here is going to be 2, and I think we don't have to change anything else. Save and run. Now we should see that all of these will be updated because now Ansible is interacting with another device. Okay, now if we log into this device, let me bring Firewall 2. So it should be 41.155. Okay, if we log in, so we can see it's Firewall 2. Now I don't want to set up this now, and I don't want to see this again ever. And what we can see this is Firewall 2. If we look at interfaces, we should see the IP address 10.65.74.252, and for the public IP 165.74.252. And what about the firewall policy? If we look at the firewall policy, it should have the same firewall policy. We can improve this code to interact, for instance, with both devices at the same time, to have different plays, different tasks on the same file, on different files. We can use something that is also referred to as Jinja templates, where we have just a template file and only we update the variables that are required without doing this manual process. But hopefully this is a very good foundation for you to start playing with Ansible and Firewall Fortigate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on the next one.